Hey guys, welcome to CyberPlatter. This is Navya, and we are starting a new series on cybersecurity interview question and answers for freshers. This is chapter 1. We will cover essential questions to help you prepare for your cybersecurity interviews. As we upload more chapters, you will find the links in the description box below for them. So let's get started. First question is, what is cybersecurity? Cybersecurity is the practice of protecting systems, networks, data from cyber threats such as unauthorized access, attacks, and data breaches. It involves implementing security measures, policies, and technologies to ensure the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information. Confidentiality, integrity, and availability, this is called CIA triad. In today's digital world, cybersecurity is crucial for businesses and individuals to safeguard sensitive data, prevent financial losses, and maintain trust. It includes areas such as network security, application security, cloud security, and incident response. Organizations follow best practices, frameworks, and compliance regulations to mitigate risks and hence enhance their security posture. Next question, what is the difference between cybersecurity and information security? So cybersecurity is a subset of information security. It focuses on protecting digital assets such as networks, systems, and data. It deals with cyber threats like hacking, malware, phishing, ransomware, and DDoS attacks. Information security, on the other hand, is broader and includes cybersecurity as a part of it. It covers the protection of all forms of information, whether it is digital or physical. Information security also includes paper documents, verbal communications, and physical security controls like, say, locked cabinets. The key difference is that cybersecurity is specifically concerned with digital threats, and information security ensures overall data protection in any form. Next question, what are the three pillars of cybersecurity? The CIA triad. The three pillars of cybersecurity are often referred to as the CIA triad, which stands for confidentiality, integrity, and availability. These principles form the foundation of security practices and ensure that data and systems are protected in a balanced way. First one is confidentiality. Confidentiality ensures that only authorized individuals or systems can access sensitive information. For example, when you access, say, your bank account online, the website uses encryption such as HTTPS to protect your personal and financial information from unauthorized users. If someone intercepts the data, it would be unreadable without the decryption key. This maintains confidentiality. Next is integrity. Integrity ensures that the data is accurate, trustworthy, and has not been tampered with during storage or transmission. For example, when downloading a software update for your phone, the file includes a checksum or digital signature to verify that it has not been altered or corrupted during the download process. If an attacker tries to modify the file, the integrity check will fail and the update won't be applied. If you don't understand any terms like checksum or digital signatures now, right, don't worry about it. We'll cover them later in detail. Next is availability. Availability ensures that information and resources are accessible to authorized users whenever they are needed. Like, for example, a website with critical services, like, for example, online banking. This website can employ redundancy, backup systems, and failover techniques to ensure that the site remains accessible even if one server fails. And this guarantees users can access their accounts or perform transactions without any interruption. Next question, what is the difference between vulnerability, threat, and risk? Vulnerability is a weakness or flaw in a system, network, or application that can be exploited by a threat to cause harm. It is something that leaves the system open to potential attacks or damages. For example, a software application with outdated security patches or weak password requirements is vulnerable to attacks because attackers could exploit these weaknesses to gain unauthorized access. A threat refers to any potential danger or event that could exploit a vulnerability to harm a system, network, or organization. It is something that has the capability to cause damage. For example, consider a hacker. This hacker is trying to exploit a vulnerability in a web server to, say, steal sensitive data. This hacker is a threat. The hacker represents the external danger that could use the system's weaknesses, that is, vulnerabilities, to cause harm. Next is risk. Risk is the likelihood or probability of a threat exploiting a vulnerability. When this happens, it causes harm or loss. It is a combination of the probability of the threat occurring and the potential impact of the damage. For example, if a company uses a vulnerable system, such as outdated software, and faces an active threat, like for example, hackers targeting such vulnerabilities, the risk would be the chance of a successful attack and the potential consequences. Consequences can be financial losses or data breach. So, in summary, vulnerability is a weakness or flaw in the system. Threat, a potential danger that could exploit the weakness. Risk, the likelihood of the threat exploiting the vulnerability and causing harm. So, a vulnerability or a weakness exists in a system. A threat or danger can exploit that vulnerability. The risk is the chance that the threat will exploit the vulnerability and the resulting impact. Next question. What is a zero-day vulnerability? Zero-day vulnerability is a security flaw in a software, hardware, or firmware that is unknown to the vendor or developers. Since the vulnerability is undiscovered, no security fix such as a patch is available. Because of this, attackers can exploit it before a solution is developed, making it highly dangerous. A zero-day vulnerability becomes a regular vulnerability once it is discovered, disclosed, and a patch is available. So, zero-day vulnerability is a subset of the vulnerabilities that we just discussed. Let's look at some examples of real-world zero-day vulnerabilities. Stuxnet 2010. This used multiple zero-day vulnerabilities to sabotage Iran's nuclear centrifuge. Log4j vulnerability 2021. This zero-day exploit in the popular logging library led to widespread attacks. Then there are Google Chrome zero-day exploits. These are frequently targeted due to its widespread use requiring emergency patches. What are the security controls against zero-day vulnerability? Regular software updates. That is, you need to apply security patches as soon as they are released. Threat intelligence and monitoring. Use advanced security tools to detect suspicious activity. Zero trust security model. Restrict access and continuously verify all requests to limit exploitation. We will talk about all these terms later, okay? Application whitelisting. Allow only trusted software to run, reducing the attack surface. Next question. What is a patch? A patch is a software update designed to fix security vulnerabilities, correct bugs, or improve performance in an application, operating system, or firmware. Patches are released by vendors to address known issues and enhance the security and functionality of their products. There are different types of patches. Security patch. This fixes vulnerabilities that could be exploited by attackers. Then there is bug fix patch. This resolves software errors and glitches. Feature update patch. This introduces new functionalities or enhancements. Then there is an emergency patch or out of band patch. This is a critical update released outside the normal update cycle to fix urgent security flaws. An example for a security patch would be a company releasing a security patch to fix a zero-day vulnerability in its web browser. This prevents hackers from exploiting the flaw to execute malicious code. This is just an example of a security patch. Next question, what is a zero trust security model? This model follows the principle of never trust, always verify. It assumes threats exist both inside and outside the network. This requires continuous verification for all access requests. Now let's look at some key principles of zero trust security model. First one is no implicit trust. That means every user, device and component is considered untrusted regardless of location. For example, a company laptop used inside the office network must still authenticate like an external device before accessing sensitive systems. Next, strict identity authentication and explicit verification. Every access request is verified using multiple authentication methods and context-aware policies. These context-aware policies are based on real-time context such as device security posture, user behavior, user location, device type, time of access, and risk level. For example, a user logging into a financial system must complete multi-factor authentication, that is MFA, and pass device security checks before gaining access. Next, least privilege access. Users and devices receive only the minimum permissions needed for their tasks. For example, a finance employee can access payroll data but cannot view customer personal information or engineering documents. Microsegmentation. Networks are divided into smaller zones to limit lateral movement in case of a breach. Example, if a hacker compromises a marketing server, they cannot access sensitive HR or financial databases due to network segmentation. Risk-based policies. These are similar to context-aware policies. Access decisions are dynamically adjusted based on real-time risk factors such as location, device health, and user behavior anomalies. For example, a login attempt from an unusual location triggers additional security challenges or even blocks access entirely. Or a login request from a trusted corporate laptop during office hours is allowed, but the same request from an unknown device in a foreign country requires additional verification. Next key principle of zero trust security model is assume breach. Continuous monitoring, logging, and threat detection help identify suspicious activity and respond proactively. For example, a security system detects unusual login activity from an overseas location and automatically blocks the request while alerting administrators. Next question, what are the benefits of zero trust security model? By eliminating implicit trust, zero trust ensures that every user and device must continuously verify their identity. This reduces the risk of unauthorized access and insider threats. Continuous monitoring and logging provide real-time insights into user behavior, and this allows security teams to detect and respond to suspicious activity before it escalates. It enforces strict authentication and access policies, ensuring secure access across cloud applications, hybrid work setups, and on-premises systems. So, with least privilege access and micro-segmentation, zero trust limits user and device permissions, making it harder for attackers to move laterally within a network. Since zero trust assumes breaches as inevitable, it limits the damage by restricting access and monitoring for anomalies in real time. It adjusts access based on real time risk factors like device health, user behavior, and location. This ensures security adapts to emerging threats. It also helps organizations meet compliance requirements such as GDPR, HIPAA, and NIST by enforcing strict access control and data protection policies. Next question: what is an insider threat? An insider threat is a security risk that originates from within an organization. This can involve employees, contractors, or business partners who have access to sensitive data or systems. These individuals may intentionally or unintentionally cause harm. Based on this, there are two different types of insider threats. Malicious insider: they intentionally steal, leak, or sabotage data for personal gain or revenge. For example, an employee steals trade secrets before leaving for a competitor. Second type is a negligent insider. They carelessly expose sensitive information through weak security practices, like, for example, falling for phishing scams, or a contractor accidentally leaking customer data by misconfiguring cloud storage. Insider threat bypasses traditional security controls since insiders already have access. And it is also very difficult to detect due to legitimate credentials and trust. Because of these two reasons, it becomes very dangerous. Next question: what is a security breach? Security breach occurs when unauthorized individuals gain access to a system, network, or data, potentially compromising the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of the information. It happens when security measures are bypassed or exploited, leading to a violation of security policies or protocols. Let's look at some examples. Data breach: when hackers steal sensitive information like personal data, credit card numbers, or intellectual property from a company's database. Unauthorized access: a user gaining access to a system without permission, either by exploiting a weak password or through social engineering attacks. Malware infections: when malicious software such as ransomware or viruses infiltrate a system, causing harm or stealing data. Insider threats: an employee or contractor misusing their access to compromise or steal data. Security breach often leads to immediate risks like data theft, financial loss, reputational damage, or legal consequences for the organization. Next question: what is a security policy? A security policy is a formal document or set of guidelines that outlines an organization's approach to protecting its assets, information, and systems from security threats. It defines rules, procedures, and best practices for managing and safeguarding data, networks, and other critical resources. The goal of a security policy is to ensure that all employees and stakeholders follow consistent practices to mitigate risks and maintain a secure environment. Let's look at some key elements of a security policy. Access control: this defines who can access what resources and under what conditions. Data protection specifies how sensitive data should be handled, stored, and transmitted securely. Incident response: this outlines procedures for responding to security breaches, attacks, or other incidents. Risk management: this identifies potential threats and vulnerabilities and outlines strategies to address them. Compliance ensures adherence to relevant laws, regulations, and industry standards such as GDPR and HIPAA. User behavior This establishes acceptable use policies and guidelines for employees' activities, including, say, device usage, internet access, and social media. There are different types of security policies. Let's look at a few of them. Network security policy. This governs the security measures for protecting the organization's networks from unauthorized access or attacks. Password policy. This defines requirements for creating and managing strong passwords to prevent unauthorized access. Email security policy. This outlines the use of email systems and practices to avoid phishing and malware risks. Remote access policy. This specifies how employees can securely access company resources remotely. Now let's see what is the importance of a security policy. Guidance for employees. This provides clear instructions on what is acceptable behavior and what actions may lead to security risks. Risk mitigation helps prevent security breaches by setting proactive rules for handling data and responding to potential threats. Regulatory compliance ensures the organization meets legal and industry specific security standards. Consistency establishes a unified approach to security, and this reduces confusion and improves effectiveness across the organization. Next question. What is the difference between security policies and security procedures? Security policies are high-level formal documents that outline an organization's overall security approach, goals, and principles. Security procedures are detailed step-by-step instructions that specify how to implement the policies in practice. Purpose of security policies is that they set the framework for security practices and decision making within the organization. Security procedures provide detailed guidance on the actual actions or processes to follow in various situations to maintain security. Policies are broad and often deal with principles and objectives. They define what needs to be done to protect systems, networks, and data. Procedures are specific and operational, focusing on the how of security tasks. Security policies are generally flexible, offering room for interpretation and adaptation based on specific situations. Procedures are generally rigid and must be followed precisely to ensure the security policy is effectively enforced. An example of a security policy, a password policy might dictate that employees must use strong, unique passwords and change them periodically. An example of a security procedure, a password change procedure would outline how users can change their passwords, what tools to use, and how to verify the new password strength. Security policies define what needs to be done to protect the organization, and security procedures define how to execute these tasks in practice. Next question. What is the principle of least privilege? The principle of least privilege states that users, applications, and systems should be granted only the minimum level of access necessary to perform their tasks. This reduces the risk of unauthorized access, data breaches, and malware propagation. For example, user access control. A junior employee can view reports but cannot edit or delete them. System processes. A web server can read files but cannot modify system configurations. Third-party access. A vendor gets temporary, restricted access to only the systems required for maintenance. Next question. What are the benefits of principle of least privilege? First one, reduces attack surface. That is, it limits potential entry points for attackers. When users and applications only have the minimum permissions needed, the attackers have fewer opportunities to exploit vulnerabilities. For example, if an employee only has read access to customer records, a phishing attack cannot grant the hacker write or delete permissions. Next, prevents lateral movement. That is, it blocks unauthorized escalation within the network. Attackers often move laterally within a network after gaining initial access. By restricting privileges, least privilege principle can stop them from accessing sensitive systems beyond their initial entry point. For example, if an attacker compromises an employee's credentials, they cannot use them to access critical financial databases or admin systems. Next, it enhances compliance and security. So it helps meet regulatory requirements like HIPAA, GDPR, and SOC 2. Regulations require strict access controls to protect sensitive data. And this principle enforces role-based access, ensuring only authorized users can handle sensitive information. For example, a hospital employee accesses patients' records can only view relevant data, and this aligns with HIPAA's minimum necessary standard. Next, it minimizes insider threats. So it restricts unauthorized actions by employees or compromised accounts. Insider threats arise when employees or malicious insiders misuse their access. Least privilege principle ensures that users cannot access or modify information beyond their job role. For example, a marketing employee cannot download customer payment details. This reduces the risk of fraud and data theft. Next question, what is an attack surface? An attack surface is the total set of entry points an attacker can exploit to gain unauthorized access to a system, network, or application. It includes all vulnerabilities, interfaces, and pathways that could be targeted. Let's look at some examples. Digital attack surface. This includes exposed applications, APIs, open ports, and misconfigurations. For example, an unpatched web server with an outdated, say, content management system can be exploited using a remote code execution vulnerability. Physical attack surface. This involves hardware, devices, USB ports, and on-premises infrastructure. Example, an attacker gains access to a corporate office and installs a rogue device on the network to eavesdrop on traffic. Human attack surface. This targets people through social engineering, phishing, and insider threats. For example, an employee receives a phishing email with a malicious link, leading to credential theft and unauthorized access to sensitive systems. Next question, how to minimize the attack surface? Disable unused services and close unnecessary network ports to reduce potential entry points. For example, a company disables unused remote desktop protocol, that is RDP ports, to prevent unauthorized access. Restrict user and system permissions to only what is necessary for their roles. Example, a junior IT admin is given read-only access to system logs instead of full admin privileges. Implement authentication, encryption, and rate limiting to prevent API abuse. Example, an organization enforces OAuth 2 authentication for API access to prevent unauthorized data exposure. Apply security updates and patches promptly to mitigate known vulnerabilities. For example, a company applies monthly security patches to its enterprise applications to prevent exploitation. Require multiple authentication factors to verify user identity. For example, employees must enter a one-time password, that is OTP, from their mobile device in addition to their credentials. Use SIM systems, that is security information and event management systems, to detect and respond to anomalies. For example, a SIM system can alert the security team about an unusual login attempt from an unrecognized location. Divide networks into isolated zones to limit lateral movement in case of a breach. Example, a bank separates its customer database from its internal corporate network to prevent unauthorized access. Use endpoint protection, disable unused ports, and enforce strong security configurations. Example, USB ports on company laptops are disabled to prevent data exfiltration using removable drives. Educate staff on recognizing phishing, social engineering, and other threats. Example, employees undergo regular phishing simulations to improve their ability to detect fraudulent emails. Perform vulnerability scans and penetration testing to identify and fix weaknesses. Example, a cybersecurity firm conducts a quarterly penetration test to evaluate and strengthen its defenses. Next question, what is social engineering? Social engineering is a manipulation technique that exploits human psychology to trick individuals into revealing confidential information, granting unauthorized access, or performing certain actions that benefit the attacker. It exploits human trust, making it very difficult to detect. It bypasses technical security controls, allowing attackers direct access. There are many different types of social engineering attacks. Let's look at a few common ones. Phishing, fraudulent emails or messages designed to steal sensitive information. Example, a hacker sends an email posing as a bank and asking the recipient to verify their account by clicking a malicious link that steals their login credentials. Pretexting, this is creating a fake scenario to trick victims into providing data. Example, an attacker pretends to be an IT support technician and calls an employee and claims that they need their login credentials to fix a system issue. Baiting, this is luring victims with promises, for example, free downloads to install malware. Example, a cyber criminal leaves a USB drive labeled employee salaries in an office break room. When an employee plugs it into their computer, malware is installed. Next, tailgating, an unauthorized person following an employee into a secure area. Example, an unauthorized individual carrying a large box follows an employee through a secure door. That is, pretending they need assistance and avoiding authentication. Next, phishing, that is voice phishing, using phone calls to deceive victims into revealing sensitive details. Example, a scammer calls a victim pretending to be from the IRS and then threatens legal action unless they provide their social security number for verification. Next question, what security measures can defend against social engineering attacks? Regularly educate employees on recognizing and responding to social engineering attacks, including phishing, vishing, and pretexting. Require multiple forms of authentication, like for example, password plus OTP to reduce the impact of stolen credentials. Use advanced email security tools to detect and block phishing emails and malicious attachments. Implement the principle of least privilege to ensure employees only have access to necessary systems and data. Always verify the identity of individuals requesting sensitive information, especially over the phone or email. Use badge-based entry systems, security guards, and tailgating prevention methods to protect physical access points. Establish clear procedures for reporting suspected social engineering attempts and responding to potential breaches. Conduct periodic phishing simulations to assess employees' awareness and reinforce training. Attackers often create a sense of urgency to manipulate victims. Train employees to take time and verify requests. Next question. What is an attack vector? An attack vector is the method or pathway used by an attacker to exploit vulnerabilities and gain unauthorized access to a system, network, or data. Attack vectors can be technical or human based. Let's look at some examples. Phishing, deceptive email with a fake login page to steal credentials is the attack vector. Malware, malicious software hidden in a fake software download is the attack vector. Unpatched software, exploiting a known vulnerability in outdated software is the attack vector. Weak credentials, brute force attack on an easily guessable password. Social engineering, impersonation through a phone call to manipulate IT staff is the attack vector. That's it for today, guys. I will see you again in the next chapter of the same series with more interview question and answers. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our videos. That helps us a lot. Take care for now. Bye bye.